I was supposed to pick her up from her nail appointment. That's all. Just a simple ride. But when I got there, she wasn't at the salon. The receptionist said she left 20 minutes ago with the plumber. I thought it was a joke, until I saw her car parked 2 blocks down. And through the windshield, I saw her face. Smiling. Laughing. On top of a man in dirty blue overalls. His tool belt still on the floorboard. She looked up, saw me, and kept going. I didn't plan to catch her. That's what eats at me the most. I wasn't looking through her messages. I wasn't tracking her phone. I wasn't suspicious. I was just being me. Reliable. Predictable. The guy who brings the car around, who texts, "I'm outside," and waits 10 minutes past the appointment time, just in case. It was a Friday afternoon. Hot. I was parked outside Polished Plus Company, the salon she swore by. I dropped her off an hour before. She said, "I'll be quick. Just a fill and shape." At 3:08 p.m., I pulled up out front. Sat there. By 3:15, she wasn't out. By 3:20, I went inside. The receptionist looked confused. "She left a while ago." "Left with the plumber." "The plumber?" I asked. "Yeah," she said casually, like it made perfect sense. "The guy in overalls. Came in through the back door." She said she was going with him. I walked out, stunned. My first instinct wasn't suspicion. It was concern. I thought maybe something happened. An emergency. A leak at the apartment. But why would she ride with him? Why not call me? Then I turned the corner. There was her car, parked on a side street in the shade. The windows were fogged. At first, I couldn't make out the shapes inside. Then one of them moved. Her hand, pressed against the windshield. I stopped walking. Didn't breathe. I stepped closer. Slow. She was straddling him in the passenger seat, his face buried in her neck, her blouse half open. I recognized him. He'd fixed our kitchen sink 2 weeks ago. Came in with a bucket and a belt full of rusted tools. She'd offered him lemonade. I remember because she never made lemonade for me. And now she was in his lap. In public. In her own car. She saw me. She saw me. Our eyes met through the glass. And she kept going. Like I was the one invading something private. Like I was interrupting. I didn't shout. Didn't knock. Didn't throw anything. I just turned around and walked back to my car. Sat behind the wheel. Hands shaking. 5 minutes later, she texted me. "Sorry. It just happened. Don't make this a bigger deal than it is." I stared at the message, feeling something in me collapse. I didn't respond. I couldn't. I just sat there, trying to process what I'd just seen. Not the act. The look on her face when she saw me. No shame. No guilt. Just satisfaction. And somehow, I still wanted to ask her why. She came home later that night like nothing happened. Hair brushed. New nails done. Almond shape, French tips. No explanation. Just walked past me, kicked off her sandals, and said, "You're really gonna just sit there all night?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. I'd been sitting on the edge of the couch for hours, waiting for the sound of the door. Practicing what I'd say. Replaying every second in that parking lot like it was on repeat in my skull. She opened the fridge. Pulled out the orange juice. Drank straight from the bottle like it was her house, her kitchen, her rules. Then she turned to me and said, "So, are we gonna do this awkward thing all night? Or can we be adults?" I finally spoke. "What was that?" She blinked. "What was what?" I stared at her. "In the car. With him." She smiled. That same smile from the windshield. "Oh, that," she said, like it was nothing. "It just happened." "You texted me 5 minutes after," I said. "You said not to make it a big deal." "It's not," she shrugged. "Unless you want it to be." I stood up. She rolled her eyes. "Please don't do the whole broken husband act. It's exhausting." "Why him?" I asked. "You don't even know him." She laughed. Actually laughed. "That's the point. He doesn't ask questions. He doesn't wait outside nail salons like a golden retriever." I froze. She walked past me, brushing her shoulder against mine. "You're too careful," she said. "Too soft. You're predictable. And predictable gets boring." My mouth opened, but no words came out. She sat on the armrest of the couch. Looked me dead in the eyes. "Don't act surprised. You're the type who'd forgive anything if someone cried hard enough." Then she leaned closer. "You still love me, don't you?" I didn't answer. She smiled wider. "That's what I thought." She stood up and went to the bathroom. The door clicked shut. I stood in the living room, knees weak, trying to make sense of it. She'd cheated. Not just physically. She broke something deeper. And now she was mocking the idea that I'd still want her. And the worst part? She was right. Some part of me still wanted to fix it, to make sense of it, to hold on to the version of her I used to know. Because if she could change that much, that fast, what did that say about me? About who I really married? I spent that night on the couch, staring at the ceiling. And I kept thinking, what if I had just showed up 5 minutes later? Would I still be in the dark? Would I still be the fool she smiled at every morning? The answer scared me more than the truth. The next morning, she was in the kitchen, humming, wearing my shirt, drinking from my mug, as if nothing happened. She didn't apologize, didn't explain. She just handed me a grocery list and said, if you're going out later, grab these. I looked at the list. Eggs, garbage bags, shampoo. Like I was just her errand boy now, a background character in her real life. I left without saying a word. But I didn't go to the store. I went to the public library. Why? I don't even know. Maybe because it was the one place she never cared about. The one space I could sit without hearing her voice in my head. I sat down at a corner computer, logged in, and opened a blank document. And I started typing. Not a confession. Not a letter. A timeline. Dates. Receipts. Phone records. Appointments. All the little moments that didn't make sense before. The missed calls. The dead zones. The sudden interest in self-care. I didn't know what I was looking for yet. I just knew that if I didn't do something, anything, I'd drown in this silence. And the silence wasn't safe anymore. That night, she came home late. Said she'd run into a friend. Smelled like cheap cologne. I didn't ask who. I didn't speak at all. And that's when something shifted. She looked at me, confused, almost annoyed. What's with the quiet? I shook my head. Nothing. She narrowed her eyes. You're not going to give me the satisfaction of a meltdown? I didn't answer. She smiled again, but this time, it looked a little forced. That's when I knew. She expected drama. Tears. Maybe begging. She was ready for that version of me. She wasn't ready for silence. Not my silence. Because silence meant I was thinking. And she didn't know what I was thinking about. For the next week, I played the role. Did the dishes. Folded her laundry. Acted like her personal assistant, while I kept collecting things she never noticed I could access. Her old phone, stored in the closet. Her forgotten iCloud backup on our shared iPad. Passwords she left saved in browsers, thinking I'd never look. And slowly, a picture started forming. This wasn't a one-time thing. There was James, the building security guy. Danny, a rideshare driver she met by accident. And another one, just labeled laundry in her phone. I felt sick. But I didn't let it show. Because now, I wasn't looking for closure. I was building a case. Not for court. For her. A slow, quiet reckoning. She once looked me in the eye and said, "You're predictable." I whispered those words to myself every night now. Not as shame. As fuel. Because she still believed them. And that would be her biggest mistake. It started with the spare key. She always kept one hidden under the third planter on the balcony. Said it was just in case. I'd never touched it. Until now. One Thursday afternoon, I waited until she left for her yoga class. I knew she wasn't going to yoga. Her mat was still behind the bedroom door, untouched. But I didn't care where she went. I just cared that she was gone. I took the key, slipped out quietly, walked 2 blocks down to where she parked her car behind a row of townhouses. I'd memorized the spot. She always parked there when she didn't want to be seen coming or going. Her car was unlocked. That was her mistake. In the center console, an envelope. Inside, a folded cash receipt, handwritten. Room 212, cash only, no names. A motel off the highway. I snapped a photo. Then I put the envelope back exactly where I found it. When she came home that night, I was sitting at the table, working. She kissed me on the cheek. No guilt. No hesitation. "I'm starving," she said. "Let's order something." I nodded. While she scrolled through menus, I quietly uploaded the photo to an anonymous email and sent it to her job's internal HR inbox. No message. Just the image. Why? Because I remembered something she told me last year. Her office had a morality clause. She signed it during her promotion to client-facing staff. Anything that might damage the firm's image, publicly or privately, was grounds for disciplinary review. She never took it seriously. But now someone else would. The next morning, I watched her rush around the apartment, phone to her ear. "No, that's not true," she snapped. "I don't even know where that photo came from." She grabbed her bag and slammed the door. Didn't even say goodbye. She didn't speak to me the rest of the day. Not until 8:22 p.m. When she came home with glassy eyes and mascara smudged under one of them. You wouldn't know anything about an email sent to my company, would you? She asked. I looked up from the couch. No. Why? She studied me. I kept my face blank. She didn't push. Just nodded slowly. Somebody's playing games. She turned and walked to the bedroom. I heard her unzip her bag. The way she tossed her heels across the floor, angry, nervous. She wasn't used to being watched. She wasn't used to not knowing. That night, she didn't come out to eat. Didn't ask about dinner. Didn't bring up the email again. But I saw her, sitting on the edge of the bed, scrolling, searching. Probably trying to figure out how that photo surfaced. She looked small. Not broken. Not yet. But rattled. And I was still sitting there, quiet. Predictable, she once called me. She had no idea. I had just started. 3 days passed. She didn't mention the email again. She acted like nothing had happened, almost too normally. Cleaning, cooking, even wearing the old robe I once bought her for Christmas. Like she was rebuilding some illusion between us. But I knew better. She was buying time. And then, on the 4th day, it came. I got home from a quick grocery run. A brown envelope sat on the kitchen table. No note. No explanation. Inside, a lease termination notice. Effective in 30 days. I flipped the page. It was official. Signed by her. I wasn't on the lease. She was the primary tenant. She'd filed a petition with the building manager to remove me. Cited personal security concerns and irreconcilable domestic conditions. I stared at it for a long time. Then, as if scripted, she walked in. Sunglasses still on. Calm. Effortless. Oh, she said, spotting the envelope. Guess you saw it. Why? I asked quietly. Because, she said, tossing her bag on the chair, I don't like being spied on. You want to play dirty? You don't get to live here like nothing's wrong. You cheated, I said. And you retaliated, she snapped. You think HR doesn't know it came from inside the apartment? You're not as slick as you think. I didn't speak. She walked up to me. You want to keep going? Fine. But don't act surprised when things get uncomfortable. Then she leaned in and whispered. You're still playing catch-up. I already moved the money. That hit harder than the lease notice. The joint account. We'd used it for utilities, groceries, bills. I barely checked it. I'd been too focused on her patterns, her passwords, her affairs. And she'd quietly drained it. I checked the balance. $2.83. The statement showed 3 large transfers in the past 10 days. All authorized from her phone. Her login. She'd closed the joint savings too. Left my name off the exit paperwork. Legally clean. Just cold execution. That night, I slept on the couch. Not because she told me to. Because I couldn't bear to be in the same room. I stared at the ceiling fan spinning above me, and for the first time in weeks, doubt crept in. Maybe I couldn't win this. Maybe she was right. I wasn't built for this kind of war. I was too late. Too trusting. And she knew it. I kept asking myself, when did the person I loved become this? Or worse? Was she always like this, and I just didn't want to see it? By morning, I had my answer. It didn't matter anymore. Because I had 29 days left in this apartment, and nothing left to lose. Which meant I was finally free to do anything. I didn't fight the eviction. Didn't beg. Didn't ask for more time. I just said, okay. She looked confused when I said it. No sarcasm. No breakdown. Just calm. She wanted me humiliated. Instead, I started packing. A little each night. Quietly. No drama. But what she didn't know was this. Every item I packed came with leverage. Receipts she forgot existed. Shared devices she never disconnected from. Notebooks where she jotted down schedules, hotel names, initials. She was careless because she thought I was harmless. And I played that role one last time. I found a tablet buried in the hall closet. Cracked screen. Barely held charge. But when I booted it, it auto-synced with her email. She had never logged out. Inbox. Calendar. Cloud Docs. One folder caught my eye. Archive. Do not delete. Inside, contracts. Real names. Real companies. Real lies. Fake invoices. Photoshop documents. One proposal she sent claimed she had 10 years of CPA-certified experience. She didn't even finish community college. Another document showed she signed under someone else's license number. That's federal fraud. And she was using my old laptop to draft them. I still had the serial number. That was my legal tether. That's when I knew exactly what to do. I called a compliance lawyer I'd helped once during a freelance contract. Told him I wasn't asking for a lawsuit. Just wanted to know what happens when someone builds a business on false licensing and gets caught. He said, if the documents are sent to their clients and licensing board, it's game over. Permanent blacklisting. Maybe jail time. I asked, even if they try to dissolve the business? He paused. If you've got timestamps, and if her filings trace back to your property or account, then yes. She's toast. I asked, what if I don't want to destroy her? Just trap her. He smiled through the phone. Then wait until she thinks she's clean. And push the first domino. That night, she came home late. I was already sitting on the couch. Boxes stacked. Laptop open. She didn't ask what I was working on. She just looked at me for a long second and said, I don't know what you think you're doing, but if you're planning something, remember who you're up against. I nodded. I already have. She narrowed her eyes, smiled tightly, then walked to the bedroom. Door slammed shut. But she didn't know what I had. She didn't know I'd just downloaded every contract she ever falsified and stored it in 3 different clouds. Labeled, dated, organized, and backed up to a flash drive in my jacket pocket. I wasn't chasing revenge anymore. I was building a fuse. And she was still holding the bomb. The first sign came in a text. From my college friend, Trevor. Hey man, everything okay? Someone sent me a screenshot. You might want to see this. Attached, a post. Anonymous username. Black background. White text. If you've ever hired freelance tech workers, double check your data. My ex used our devices to monitor and harass me. Quiet men aren't always harmless. Sometimes, they're just hiding their control issues. No names. No photos. But just vague enough, and just specific enough, to sound real. And the comments? Filled with fire. Ugh. My ex did the same. It's terrifying. Quiet ones are the worst. They think silence is strategy. Expose him. I didn't sleep that night. Not because it hurt, but because it was working. By morning, 2 old clients had pulled their retainers. No explanation. Just polite, short emails. We've decided to go a different direction. I checked the analytics on my website. Traffic dropped 70%. My name was being passed around group chats like a threat. Julia never said a word. Never accused me directly. She just guided the fire and stepped back. And the flames spread fast. 2 days later, my part-time contract paused, pending review. Darren texted, I tried to defend you, man. But HR's nervous. That post getting shared like crazy. That night, I stood in the kitchen, holding my phone like it was made of fire. And she walked in behind me. Calm, clean, beautiful. She poured herself wine. Didn't say a word for a minute. Then, you started it. I turned around. You're ruining my life. She tilted her head. I'm protecting mine. You cheated. And you stalked me. Isn't that what people are saying? I took a step forward. You know that's not true. She smiled. But they don't. That one sentence gutted me. She walked past, sipped her wine, and whispered, You had your moment. You should have stayed in your lane. She disappeared into the bedroom again, door closing softly behind her. And I stood there, for the first time in weeks, truly out of moves. Because she'd stolen more than money, more than a home. She'd stolen my credibility. And in this world, once someone paints you as unstable, even quietly, you don't get to repaint yourself. Not easily. Not cleanly. I checked the folder I'd built, full of her forgeries, fake licensing, contracts. It all still existed. I still had the flash drive. But now, I realized something sickening. If I used it, she'd say I did it out of spite, out of obsession, out of fragile masculinity. And people would believe her, because she moved first, and she moved louder. So that night, I sat alone on the floor of my almost empty apartment, staring at that flash drive. And I thought, for the first time, what if she really wins? I was done playing defense. She'd poisoned my name. Like a professional, turned the world against me with nothing but suggestions. But I still had something she didn't. Proof. And proof doesn't blink. I didn't post it online. I didn't send it to her job. I went higher. I found a contact at the state licensing board, a guy named Freeman. He handled third-party verification complaints, the kind that exposed fake certifications, especially in finance and legal consulting. I sent him 3 things. 1. A notarized proposal where she falsely listed a CPA certification. 2. Metadata logs from the device used, registered to my name. 3. A screenshot of her cloud folder with client invoices signed under a fraudulent license number. He replied in 2 hours. Thank you for this submission. Based on the severity, we are opening an investigation immediately. This meets the threshold for regulatory fraud. I didn't feel anything at all. Just stared at that line again. We are opening an investigation. Within 72 hours, she felt it. I came home from a job interview to find her pacing in the living room, phone pressed to her ear, panic barely masked. No, that's not what I filed. I don't know how it got attached like that. Someone must have. Yes, I'm telling you, it's not what it looks like. I stepped in quietly. She turned, saw me, and froze. She hung up mid-sentence. You did this, she said. I said nothing. Her face cracked. Not all at once, just a tremble at the corner of her mouth, a flicker in the eyes. I have meetings this week, she hissed. Clients. Partnerships. They'll drop me if this circulates. I nodded. Then I guess you shouldn't have lied to them. Her eyes searched mine. Looking for guilt. Looking for the old version of me. But he was gone. Let me explain, she said. It's not what you think. You know what's funny? I asked. That's what you said when I caught you with the plumber. That shut her up. She sat down on the edge of the coffee table, slowly. This isn't just about you, she said. This'll ruin everything. You want that? I walked past her, picked up the flash drive, held it in front of her. This doesn't just ruin your name, I said. It ruins your future, your finances, your access to credit, business licenses, even basic consulting work. She stared at it like it was radioactive. You wouldn't, she whispered. I already did, I said. They're reviewing it now. Silence. And for the first time, she looked afraid. She didn't raise her voice. Didn't throw a plate. She just sat there, holding her head like it was too heavy for her neck. And that's when I realized. She had no backup plan. No second identity. No new story to spin. Because she never thought I'd make it this far. She thought I'd break before I bit. But now? She was cracking. And the story wasn't hers anymore. It was mine. The notice came by mail. Thin envelope. Government seal. I opened it standing at the counter, half expecting some routine update from the licensing board. But it wasn't that. It was a dismissal letter. The investigation against Julia had been closed. No further action. I reread the lines 5 times. Due to insufficient evidence of direct financial harm and lack of third-party corroboration, the matter is considered resolved. I stood there, frozen. How? I sent everything. Emails. Documents. The metadata. Her signature. It should have buried her. But then it hit me. She got to them. Whether it was a legal loophole, a private settlement, or some shady friend in a government chair, I didn't know. All I knew was, she'd survived it. And just like that, she'd won again. When she came home that night, her expression was glowing. Hair freshly blown out. Eyes too smug to hide. Rough mail day? She asked. I didn't reply. She set her bag down, humming. Actually humming. Then said, I told you I always land on my feet. It was over. She was untouchable. I went to my room, sat on the edge of the mattress, staring at the walls I'd soon have to leave. And for the first time in months, I felt beaten, tired. She'd burned everything I had and still walked out clean. She didn't just rewrite the story. She got away with it. I reached for my backpack to start organizing my last few things before moving out. Unzipped the front pocket. And then, I saw it. A USB drive. Not mine. Hers. She must have dropped it weeks ago. It had the same brand sticker she used for her client presentations. I plugged it into the old laptop. No password. No encryption. Just one folder. Clients, unsent. Inside, a draft pitch deck, a fake brand proposal, and a spreadsheet. Not just client leads. Payout amounts. Next to each one, initials. Some of them were men I'd never heard of. But 2 of them? One was her old HR manager. The other? Freeman, the man from the licensing board. Next to his initials. $3,000 Q3 consulting comp. Hush. I stared at it. She didn't beat the system. She bribed it. Or faked a contract to make it look like it. Either way, it was undeniable intent. This wasn't just deceit. It was felony-level fraud. I copied the file. Backed it up twice. And this time, I didn't send it to some internal inbox. I prepped a full formal submission to the State Ethics Division, separate from the licensing board. No overlap. No protection. She'd buried me in public. Twice. But she left her footprint behind. And now? I was standing on it. It didn't take long. 48 hours after I sent the file to the State Ethics Division, I got a call. Real person. Mr. Kramer? This is Special Investigator Don Keller, Bureau of Financial Compliance. We've received your submission. It meets the threshold for formal inquiry. Can we confirm you're willing to participate in testimony if needed? I said yes. She said 2 words. Smart move. That night, I slept better than I had in months. Silence. And this time, I wasn't afraid of it. 2 days later, she found out. I don't know how. Maybe someone tipped her off. Maybe she sensed it, like animals do before storms hit. But that evening, when I came back from getting coffee, she was sitting on the floor of the apartment, back against the wall. No makeup. No wine. Phone turned upside down beside her. I stopped in the doorway. She didn't look up right away. Then she whispered, "I know what you did." Her voice was quiet. No venom. Just resignation. I stepped inside. Closed the door. She looked up at me, and her eyes were red. Not filtered through some victim narrative. Real. "I got a call," she said. Not from HR. Not from the board. From a criminal compliance unit. She stood up slowly. Legs shaking. "If they dig through those files," she swallowed. "It's not just losing contracts. I could be charged. I could go to jail." I didn't move. She stepped forward. And then she dropped to her knees. Not dramatic. Not performative. Just broken. "Please," she said. "Please don't go through with it." I stared at her. Silent. "I'll delete everything. I'll shut down the business. I'll tell anyone you want the truth. Publicly. Just don't ruin my life." She looked up at me like she'd never seen me before. Like I was someone new. Or maybe someone she was finally seeing clearly. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I never said it. But I am. I was cruel. I was disgusting. You didn't deserve any of it." Tears rolled down her face. I thought I could win. That I was smarter. But you. She looked around the apartment, then back at me. "You never yelled. Never touched me. Never fought dirty. And you still destroyed me." I picked up her phone. Placed it in her hands. "I didn't destroy you," I said. "You did that." She nodded, sobbing now. I walked to the bedroom. Took out the flash drive. Held it in my palm for a long moment. Then opened the drawer. And put it away. Not out of mercy. Out of finality. I didn't need revenge anymore. I had power. And I chose not to use it. That was the victory. That was the part she'd never understand. She stayed on her knees as I walked past her. She didn't stop me. Didn't speak again. And I left her there, alone, in the silence she once used against me. I've never seen her since. Never needed to. But I still ask myself, now and then, what would you do in my place?